What's up, Aspect fam? So this is just like episode 4. I got to come on after the recording and kind of give a little PSA. So this episode, I'm not the host. I did not host. I did not do the intro. Jacob did, and he did a fantastic job. You're going to hear that very soon. However, when we decided that we wanted to go down this route of me not hosting it, things kind of fell apart, and Jaden and Andrew ended up going on Andrew's phone and giving in some and just like recording from there. Me, however, I was also on that phone call, but I had no intention of chiming in for this episode, and then I ended up doing it for reasons that will be explained and figured out much later. So, my point in this PSA is I'm telling you that right now, and I'm also telling you that the audio on Andrew's phone gets very bad at times. So please just kind of stick with us. I'm editing right now while I'm recording this. So I'm going to do my best to make sure it's as pleasurable as possible, but odds are is you're going to hear a couple weak spots in the audio. Jacob sounds fine, James sounds fine, but us three on this end, we don't sound that great all the time. But look, I've been talking a lot. I'm just going to stop, but that's all I wanted to let you guys know. All right, enjoy.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Aspect Pod, another episode. If I do sound different, it's because this is not Trey, this is Jacob. We are a little bit shorter today, but we did want to introduce one of our newer members who is making his episode debut, James. James, you want
What's
to say hi real quickly?
what's up? I'm proud to be here, proud to make something special. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we are a little bit shorter hand today, but we're still going to give you great content.
Yeah.
And today's episode is a little more chill, a little more relaxed. We just want to start off and talk about NBA Mount Rushmores. So if anyone doesn't really get what that means, if you live in America, you should know the Mount Rushmore statue or the monument, famous monument with four famous presidents. I don't know who it is on top of my head. I couldn't tell you. But we're talking about NBA Mount Rushmore.
Normally I would probably go from bottom to top, but on a list like this, I think it's pretty consensus who number one is. So for me, I'm gonna stick with Curry. His word speaks for itself. So I'm not even gonna spend too much time on that. But the other three guys I have Clay Thompson, Kyle Korver, and Ray Allen.
Through a couple, one, two, maybe three or four different categories of basketball and talk about things like shooting, playmaking, ball handling, defense, whatever. And basically just talk about who we think is essentially in our top four, who tops the list. Today we got James and Andrew, and we'll see if we get other people on sooner or later. But with that being said, we just want to start off. I'll let either of you guys take it away. Who is on y'all's shooting Mount Rushmore? I have Damian Lillard instead of Kyle Korver on mine.
All right, it's Jaden. Me and Andrew are sharing the mic, and
For the record, Trey is here, but he needs a break.
all right, yeah, he doesn't want to be on tonight.
Trey's taking a well-deserved break. Go ahead.
I will provide commentary it's like once in a while. It's not a lot.
All right, so my shooting Mount Rushmore, right? It's Steph, Clay, Reggie, and Ray Allen, and Andrew. Here's
All right. I'm not that good with the NBA, but
Hey guys, me again. So you just heard Andrew say that he is terrible at the NBA, and he is absolutely correct. I would say horrific, the worst I've ever seen. We definitely considered kicking him off the podcast after this episode. Please, understand, he does not speak for us at the Aspect Pod. We like to think that we know what we're talking about with sports. Andrew does not know what he's talking about with basketball. The same way that if I were to chime in for much of the basketball segment, I would probably have my removal considered. So, with that being said, Andrew's still on the podcast, guys. Don't get me wrong, but he has been made aware that he is now pretty much only allowed to chime in during the NFL times. He does not speak for us on the Aspect Pod. However, I did keep his segments in the episode because it's hilarious. All right, enjoy.
I got Steph, Clay, of course. I'm gonna have to chuck in Magic Johnson and Larry Bird.
Magic Johnson. Did you just say
Magic Johnson?
Hold on. No. Don't even speak, Trey. This kid just said Magic Johnson in your shooting Mount Rushmore. You just said Magic Johnson,
That's crazy.
bro. He just said Magic Johnson.
That's
Okay. With that being said, that was terrible, Andrew.
With that being said, my shooting Mount Rushmore's got to be Steph Curry, Lola Bunny from Space Jam, Uncle Rico, and James Snipes.
I respect it. I was saying, I'm looking through the all-time like career 3-pointers made. I don't see Magic Johnson in the top 200, so I'm gonna keep looking. I'm gonna keep you updated.
Let me know when you hit 500. But it sounds like most of us here have a consensus three, those being Steph, Clay, and Ray. I guess I'll talk about my pick with Dame real quickly, but I think the last spot is up for grabs. Like I made a list of honorable mentions. I have guys like, Reggie, Bird, Corver, throw in Reddick. You want to talk about efficiency, you can even go like Steve Nash if you really want to go there. But real quickly, I personally have Dame. I think when we look at just pure shooting, I think Dame is a great example of what this era looks like in terms of the shots that we're taking and how many threes we're taking. But I think the big thing for me is just Dame's ability to do it, off the dribble and with such difficulty too. Like he's doing it from 40 plus feet deep on a consistent basis. Guys like Reddick and Corver are extremely, they're crazy good snipers. But I think I kind of took into account Dame's ability to do it as the lead guy on a team. He's been doing it, he was doing it in Portland. Um, and as a result, he has so much attention from the defense. So it's harder by nature to get shots off for him. And he's taking and making such difficult shots. Not to discredit JJ or Corver, they're more catch and shoot guys running around screens, right? I'm not saying they're not good shooters, but definitely think Dame has that level of difficulty.
What I wanted to say is, even I was thinking you could put like a big man in Mount Rushmore. Like if you're talking about like Dirk or Cat, those players or those type of players who are big men and who could shoot, they've changed. All right, they've changed the game, or they've helped change the game. And you see every big man shooting threes, and I know it's the Steph Curry effect, but when you always have to look up to someone at your position who does the same thing. So that's something I wanted to note.
Definitely a good point. I think if we're talking about big specifically, definitely like Dirk, definitely like Cat. I would honestly argue, I don't know if you count him as a big, maybe a guy like Hito Turkoglu, maybe even like Steve Novak way back when. James, go ahead and talk about that Reggie Miller pick. Definitely don't hate it. Definitely a great pick, but definitely talk about it.
Uh, so I had him as one of my honorable mentions. I picked my last guy. I had Kyle Korver, but definitely I understand
yeah,
the
Kyle
Miller
Korver.
pick. He's number 5 on the all-time list. I understand it. I mean, he was 395 at a 39% clip his whole career, so it makes sense. He was doing it all as the lead guy, and I think the point that you made towards Dame made a lot of sense. He's number 4 all time in threes made, and his efficiency was great even as the lead guy. So I think really raised some great points about Dame. But for Kyle Korver, you talk about shooting the basketball, like that's one of the first guys I think of. Just the form, how much he was able to make it, and a little bias as an Atlanta guy. I got to see it growing up, so I just had to give the nod to him.
I definitely definitely respect it. I apologize. I forgot you said Corver, not Miller, but definitely.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, talk about form. I think other guys, if I made a Mount Rushmore strictly about form, I
Yeah.
think Corver's up there. I think Clay's up there. I think PG's up there. And probably a guy like Devin Booker.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think that gives us a good transition into our next thing. Let's go with our playmaking Mount Rushmores. James, go ahead and who you got? Playmaking, passing, good lead guys. Who you got?
Now, I think playmaking is a lot more contested. I would say a lot more competition into the top 4 for me. I mean, there's honorable mentions like LeBron. Yeah, he didn't make my top 4, but I considered it. I definitely thought about it. But for me, I put Magic, Stockton, Nash, and Chris Paul. I think when you think of passing and pure playmaking, those are the guys you want running the offense, and those are the 4 guys I would pick. But the more I think about it, like, look, it's really a toss up between LeBron and Chris Paul for me because I don't know, just that size and him being able to see the floor like he does at that size just brings a different dimension to your offense.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think again, we have a very similar one. The only thing that's different about mine, I would swap out LeBron. I would put in LeBron and I'd take out Stockton.
Okay.
For super nitpicky reasons. Like Stockton is so close to like Nash, and my other honorable mentions, I had like Rondo, I had Kidd, and honestly, he's still playing, but I'd put Jokic in there too,
Yeah.
just because look at what he's doing as a center, 7-footer. But
Some stuff we haven't seen before is crazy.
exactly, not from that position. Like it's on you argue generational. Jaden, go ahead. What about you?
Okay, weirdly enough, it's not Jaden, it's me. I would just like to let you guys know. I told you guys I'm not gonna be saying much. When you said playmaking route Mount Rushmore, Andrew immediately said, "Oh no." So whatever he's about to say, do not listen. He does not speak for all of us. No, no, you're about to get fired from your job.
No,
Bro.
no, mine's
Bro,
actually
you
good.
cannot go to work, bro. You're
No,
about to
no,
get
no.
fired.
My 4 is actually good. See,
Let's hear it, Andrew. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
all right. Well, my 4, I really like the Jokic pick from you. That was very good. And then I think I got confused before with the shooting, so I'm gonna put Magic Johnson there because we don't talk about me choosing Magic Johnson for shooting, and then we'll choose a guy like Russell Westbrook.
Mm.
Same pick. Okay.
Did you just Did you just say you're gonna cook and then put Russell Westbrook in your top playmakers of all time?
Yeah, is that not good?
It's a good pick.
Much I
I-
don't hate that pick too much. I think Russ is maybe closer to my 10, all time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, considering that I was going to say Trey Young, I think Russell Westbrook's a lot better of a pick. But this is also why I don't cook with the NBA.
Honestly, hey, hold on. Now let me go on a little tangent right here. Trey Young, right? I saw a graphic.
Oh
He
no,
is
no, he's
third
gonna say stupid.
all time in assists per game. So he's not saying anything too crazy. Now I know it hasn't amounted to wins yet, but guess what? When he gets the talent around him that necessary for him to succeed and flourish, we thought it was gonna be DeJounte Murray, and he's been doing pretty well this season. But now Trey Young's hurt. So once we all put it together, you see all this transcendent passing is gonna lead to wins. And he's not gonna sound too crazy.
Hey man, glad we could introduce y'all listening to James, our residential Atlanta fan. But I mean, he's spitting. But I guess back on track. I think like you were saying earlier, playmaking is really contested. Like there's so many great, I would say point guards, but like we were saying with Jokic and LeBron, like it's not even just point guards. Um, Like I feel like to me, obviously they're a little bit older, so I wasn't watching them as much. But guys like Stockton, Nash, Kidd, I feel like they're all cut from the same cloth.
Right.
I like LeBron and Magic all the time just because, like you were saying, that height, that dimension. They shouldn't be doing it that side. Traditionally, that's not what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
But they're still cooking. And Chris Paul, he's been doing that for a long time. So I like all of our picks. We can definitely go any way with it.
I definitely want to give an extra shout out to Nash too, because he was able to win MVPs off the back of his passing against Kobe scoring 30. So it's definitely to be said about that feat and accomplishment.
Very true, very true. So we're kind of brushing through these pretty well here. I want to throw in another one for y'all. Let's go with ball handling. Who do y'all have in a ball handling Mount Rushmore top four?
Man, pick four is crazy. Now there's three that come to mind right off the bat. Obviously you think of your Kyries, you think of your Jamal Crawfords, you think of Curry. Now that fourth one, I think it's a toss up between plenty of guys. You have, Darren Williams. There's so many guys you could go through, but who you guys got for that fourth? Well, not for that fourth slot, but all four of them for you guys. And I'll get back to me on the fourth one.
So you said top three immediately come to mind, and I had all those top three at least somewhere in my list. I had Steph Moore in honorable mention, but I know I put you on the spot, so I apologize for that. But I am surprised you didn't mention AI. I would put Allen Iverson immediately.
Oh yeah, I can't even think I let that slip through my mind.
There we go. But yeah, I think for me, Kyrie and Allen Iverson topped my list like easily.
Yeah.
You look at the magic that they're doing with the ball is crazy. They're hitting moves that you don't see with anybody else. It's basically like Rucker Park, and if anything. I like the Jamal Crawford pick. He was doing that in the early 2000s, won some Six Man of the Year awards off that shake and bake move, which is to this day is a crazy move that I've seen. Um, and then I think other guys that come to mind, I don't know if I have a as established top four after Kyrie, AI, and Crawford. I like the Steph pick. I think he's underrated. I think, you talk about his shooting, right?
Mhm.
But part of that shooting is being able to create and dribble for himself. And, he's had a crazy amount of highlights, the one he dropped Chris Paul, the one
Chris
against the
Paul.
Clippers that he was dribbling through three guys and turning around shooting it. I think of low key like Tim Hardaway, his crossover. And
Yes.
then I also think of Jason Williams, that kind of street ball type vibe
Mhm.
that, I think it's more like passing that he looks flashy and not so much ball handling, but I like Jason Williams up there as well. Jaden, Trey, Andrew, I don't know who's on that side of the mic. If anyone of y'all want to take up a spot and give some people a
All
shout
right.
out, go ahead.
The kitchen's already burnt down enough, but let me cook a little bit more. All right.
bro. What the hell, man?
All right. My
This is why we
four.
have to have talks about removing you after the second episode.
It's not my fault. I'm not that good at NBA, but I'm giving the best of my knowledge, and that's all that matters.
This is the best of. Okay.
All right. Here's my. All right.
Go ahead.
Here's my four. I got PG, Kyrie. All right. Now this is very controversial.
Oh, great. Here we go.
Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, all right.
All right. All right.
All right. Take the phone from him, bro. What the?
LeBron?
All right.
I'm not
All right,
gonna.
for what
He
Do
had-
you even know what we're talking about?
Yes.
All right. What are we talking about, Andrew? Ball handling.
Yeah.
And you
Victor
just said,
Wembanyama.
okay. Why Victor Wembanyama?
You've not seen him. He's so versatile as a big man.
He's also been playing in the league for 3 months.
Yeah.
He's already on the handles Mount Rushmore.
All right, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy. No. We can't let Andrew talk, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy. Nah, but he had a point though with Paul George. Like
But not Victor Wembanyama.
Paul George has the best
Dude,
handles
Paul
for
George is
anybody sizing up. If you really think
I
about
don't
it.
care how good his list was. He just said Victor Wembanyama is one of the greatest ball handlers of all time.
Well,
Yeah, it's crazy. Somebody get the mic from that dude.
I don't think we should let Andrew talk anymore.
hey, no. When we get to the NFL side, I don't know. It'll actually be like
Hey,
decent
hey,
knowledge,
Andrew,
but
is Aiden O'Connell a good quarterback?
all right. We don't, this, is
All
the,
right.
this is the NBA
All right,
section.
Aiden O'Connell sucks, and he's not a good quarterback, so I don't want to hear it.
This is NBA.
Thank
All
you.
right, bro.
We do love Andrew's contributions.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
He's gonna edit all this out.
Anyways, so I think Kyrie and AI are I think locks for me. I think
Yeah.
they're locks for most people. I like Jamal Crawford as well. One other guy that I forgot was Pete Maravich, a lot older. I can't say I watched him, but I have seen clips of him doing these drills, and like for his time, it was kind of crazy. I mean, they called him Pistol Pete, so
Yeah.
he was out there cooking. I don't know if anyone want to give some last.
Another Atlanta legend. While we're at it, go ahead.
There we go. There we go. We've had a hawk in all three of these categories so
Yeah.
far.
That tells you something. One of the greatest franchises ever, even though we haven't won anything. Don't worry about it.
I miss watching Bob Pettit.
Our time is coming soon.
You will see that rise. Y'all had a nice couple games against the Celtics back to back, so I'm not counting y'all out in the play-in.
And we just beat the Pistons. Oh yeah, we are ready for a run now.
Man, I hate Atlanta.
Hey, I will say, how did y'all let Malachi Flynn drop 50 points? For
Here's the
reference, people watching, listen,
Did we win the game? Did we win the game though? Did we win the game?
You did win the game.
We win the game.
Malachi Flynn dropped 50 points off the bench. I don't know who was guarding him.
That's not what matters. But what matters is we came out to win. Jalen Johnson got a triple double, his first of his young promising career, and we're going and we locked up a playoff spot. So
He's
everything
right.
Atlanta.
We'll see if they take down the Bulls later this month, but looking good. All right. Before we let Andrew cook on the NFL side, I do want to throw one more Mount Rushmore topic to y'all. We've been talking about shooting, ball handling, playmaking, but let's just give the other side of the court some love. It's probably a more broad topic, but if you had to make a defensive Mount Rushmore, go ahead. Defense. Let's cook up.
Who you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I can go first. I think my list is probably dominated by bigs.
Yeah.
Just because I think traditionally rim protection has always been the most important part of defense.
Yep.
So for me, I have Hakeem Olajuwon, who I've talked about this in a past episode, who I think is one of the most underrated legends of all time. I have Bill Russell, who won a number of Defensive Player of the Year awards.
Yep.
For versatility, I like KG's game. He has, a Defensive Player of the Year award, made the All Defenses team a number of times. And then for me, it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up between two guys who played together, between David Robinson and Tim Duncan. Both were phenomenal bigs. But that's kind of my Mount Rushmore. I think the last spot is either one of those Spurs guys. If I had to show a guard some love, obviously we have, Michael Jordan, Gary Payton.
Yep.
I mean, Marcus Smart did win Defensive Player of the Year way back when. I don't know if you want to put him up there. But even in today's game, guys like Drew Holiday, Alex Caruso even is a great name. Not saying all time, but my list is pretty much. So James, go ahead and cook up.
I definitely agree with you. Hakeem Olajuwon is the first person that comes to mind. He's the greatest defender in all of NBA history, in my opinion. I got Hakeem Olajuwon in there for sure. I'm gonna go with you again on Tim Duncan. He never made he never won a depoy, but he had 8-time All Defensive First Teams, and I think he's definitely one of the top defenders to ever exist. And then my other two, I think it's going to be not really a shock, but some guys that people probably don't mention. Ben Wallace, I definitely have in there.
I like
think
that.
Talk about rim protection. He's one of the best there is, even though he was undersized. He was 6'9". He was still making his presence felt every night. And my last guy is, it's between a few guys. You got Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman, you got Kawhi, you could put in there Bill Russell, Gary Payton, KG. But for that last spot, I'm going to have to go with Dikembe Mutombo.
I had a feeling you were going there.
Yeah, I had to. Now looking back at it, sound pretty biased. But, when you think, like you were talking about that shot blocking ability, you just think of that finger wag, and it's just crazy. He brought so much to the table on the defensive side. So those are my 4 guys.
I like that. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm gonna add to it. I completely agree with Hakeem. I think that's just obvious. You got Bill Russell, you got Tim Duncan. I think you got Jordan up there. I think you got Kawhi up there. I think everybody that I would put on Mount Rushmore is covered. I mean, there's underrated players. Did we talk about Mutombo? I don't know. Mutombo. Yep. I mean, obviously, all these players, it's just they've been covered. So I agree with everything.
Please, guys, don't forget Victor Wembanyama. The guy's been in the league.
I will say, I think out of all the categories, Victor is probably best bet for the defense.
Yeah, best here. He has more blocks than 86% of all NBA players in history.
Yeah.
Oh, please. I'm dying to hear this one, Andrew.
He's also averaging 3.5 blocks this season, which is crazy.
Andrew, please enlighten us with whatever garbage that's
Andrew, I want to hear.
You definitely got Hakeem, like everyone. I see maybe Wembanyama in a few years, somewhere up there.
Okay, currently, Andrew.
Currently, I got a guy like maybe Rudy Gobert. All right,
Currently, Rudy Gobert is a great defender, but historically, I don't know.
Yeah, there's some guys I would have to take over him, but currently he's not a bad choice.
Yeah.
The name that has been mentioned for me is going to be Tony Allen. I like Tony Allen too, underrated all time.
All right. Yeah, my favorite defender in the league has to be Trae Young.
Why do you still have this kid on the show,
bro? I'm joking.
Statistically, the worst defender in NBA history. Can we note that?
It was 2 years ago. Check the stats again. He's not the worst.
Okay. That's why I was just asking.
He's not the worst anymore. He's improved dramatically.
He's second.
Barely below league average now.
League average? That's crazy.
That's actually such an improvement. If you really think.
No. If that's true, I respect it. I respect it a lot. But I don't like Trae Young. I don't like the Hawks. I don't like Atlanta.
What do you
hate
like?
Atlanta. I hate Trae Young.
He's a Knicks fan, and that makes sense.
Well, that explains everything.
He's just tired of MSV.
Right. We don't talk about it, bro. We don't.
If you still think Brunson's better than Trae Young, I got some bad news for you, bud.
Brunson is better than Trey Young.
Yeah,
though.
well, no,
No,
not.
that's crazy. That's
He's
crazy.
not. He's not. Just because he has one good season of dropping 60 points every now and then doesn't mean that overrides all the years of Trey Young being that dude.
I love it. I love it.
Mm.
We have a rivalry brewing up. I like this more unhinged side of the podcast. It's real interesting.
Man, in all of the other episodes, I've barely spoken, and
do not get him started with Jalen Brunson, please.
no, that's not my point. It's my own. It's my own podcast, and I've like barely said anything. So this episode I gotta speak a little bit more.
Malachi Flynn, 50 points.
What does that have to do with Trey Young? We can slide to NFL. We got plenty of episodes to talk about Jalen Brunson and how he's not better than Trey Young.
Yeah, we can totally come back to this.
All right, James, run it up, bro. We're gonna go ones, 1-on-1. Jalen Brunson versus Trey Young. We're gonna have the own episode for it.
Next episode.
Let's
I
do
Run
it.
it up.
I love it.
Special. It'll be a special.
All right.
We can watch out for that one. But thank you for y'all with this NBA side. I want to transition a little bit into some news that broke this morning around 8 a.m. for me on the West Coast, 11-ish for y'all. But Bill Star wide receiver Stephon Diggs has been traded to the Houston Texans for what I believe is a second-round pick 2025.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but he was traded for draft compensation.
Yeah.
I'll let Andrew take a little bit more of a lead on this one. He's been clowned enough on the NBA side, but he is a good NFL guy for us. But I will say, before I turn it over, the Texans look pretty good. I mean, after making the playoffs this year, with the young CJ Stroud, young Tank Dell, you add Joe Mixon, etc. You re-sign Dalton. Their offense looks pretty dynamic. So, Andrew, what are your takeaways from this from both sides?
It was definitely a good trade on the Texans side, only giving up a second rounder that they got from the Vikings trade, I believe. And to get a star wide receiver in Stephon Diggs for such a good price is what I believe might be a step up for CJ Stroud, which could help really just pursue him in a good path.
I'm gonna interrupt. I said this in the group chat earlier. I semi agree with Andrew, but I think that Stephon Diggs, besides 2021, maybe 2022, last year, he was very underwhelming to me. I had him on my fantasy team, and when you would expect, a solid 20-point performance, he would drop roughly 11. And of course, fantasy is not everything when it comes to football, but he was so underwhelming to me last year that I thought that this was not worth it for the Texans. The only way that I saw this being remotely useful to the Texans is if Stephon Diggs, as that veteran wide receiver, comes in and mentors Nico Collins, Tank Dell, CJ Stroud, even because he's worked with who was his technically I guess Case Keenum was his quarterback on Minnesota, but Josh Allen was the top quarterback. So I could see him mentoring, but I don't know if I would exactly see him as the key puzzle piece that the Texans are missing. I thought that they did that their offense, as Jacob said, Diggs added to it. I mean, of course you're going to accept it, but I mean, I thought it was fine without him. I thought that they should have definitely used this trade, what they had to build up their defense. You got these names on the Texans roster, and besides Derek Stingley, you probably are going to name star players on the Houston Texans as offensive players, right? You're not going to, again, besides Derek Stingley, you're probably not going to name. Okay,
Will Anderson Jr.
They did bring in Daniel Hunter.
Possibly.
Say that.
This kid Andrew has been pissing me off this whole episode. My point is, when you think of the Houston Texans, you don't think, oh, pretty solid defense. You think, oh, that offense powered them to the divisional round. My point with all of this is they should not have gotten Stephon Diggs. I think that was not a good use of their what would we say, their arsenal in terms of what they were willing to trade away.
Yeah, their assets.
Yeah,
And
that compensation they gave up.
I thought that they could have done so much better with that, but you know what? This could either blow up in their face because they would pay him and he would end up in dead cap because he's old and he wouldn't be producing, or he could absolutely explode, or he could mentor, and the final or he could just literally just kind of be quiet and just not really do anything. 2 of the 4 are good, 2 of the 4 are bad. So it really just depends on just.
You mentioned Will Anderson Jr.
You know what, bro?
No, he said
I'm
his
so
top player-
sick of these.
Will
No.
Anderson Jr., a great defensive player in the Texans.
He said the only good defensive player on the Texans
That's not
was
what I said.
no,
I heard it
Derek
before.
Stingley.
I heard it before.
That's not what I
walked out.
said. I hate you guys.
Yo,
All right.
Clip it, Chad.
No, but I just want to mention, even with the defense, like you could like put. Well, I think it's Desmond King. Like most teams, he might not be doing that much, but if you look at the way D'Amico Ryans really used them last year, I believe I saw a clip of it. D'Amico Ryans was talking to him, and he just told him what to do, and he was able to get pick 6 off of just D'Amico Ryans coaching because of it. D'Amico
So
Ryans
how
is a really special defensive guy. He doesn't need that much talent to perform good on defense. Like I believe it was Jonathan Greenard. And
You know what?
most people they don't really recognize him, but they turned him into a pretty good defensive
You know
end
what,
last
Andrew?
season.
You know what, Andrew? That's a great point. If whoever you were just talking about, I forgot his name, got a pick 6 on every single play on defense.
All right.
That happened once.
Yeah, I'm not talking about it just then, but I'm just talking about D'Amico Ryan's ability to just like turn like Desmond King into like he just set him up for a good play. And
Yeah,
he
that,
really
that was one time though.
all right,
You
one
can't-
time.
You can't base that, dude. I mean, well, I hit a home run once. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be the next Aaron Judge.
Well,
That was
you
one
know,
time.
talk about one time, like Jets Super Bowls. Jets only have one Super
You know
Bowl.
what?
I don't see
You
it
know what?
happening again.
Like, here's what's another thing you got to think about. Like, now that they've addressed all these needs on offense with the skill position, like they can just turn to the draft because that pick they gave up was for next year. So now they can turn to the draft and use almost all of the draft capital that they have on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive line. So that you don't have to focus on the skill group anymore. You can still address that need.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that point. I like that point. And I will say they did bring in some decent signings like Hunter and Aziz.
Yep.
I'm not saying they're star by any means, but Danny had a pretty good season for the Vikings last year. It definitely broke out a little bit. So a little more under the radar after, their more offensive minded moves. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about the Bills aspect to this. Like they gave up their star wide receiver who they had for
Yep.
a good number of years, about 4 years.
Yep.
What's their future looking like to y'all?
I think that their future is not exactly down the drain, but I don't think they're going to exactly come back out and still be that divisional round conference championship contender team. Because if you think about it, right, Diggs, I told you that he was underwhelming, but he was still like a key piece on that offense. You know what I mean? I don't think without Diggs the Bills are totally lost, but I think that the Bills are kind of looking at this and they're like, we're not really we're winning, sure, regular season, but we're not really making it past the divisional round. We haven't made a Super Bowl. Our fans are getting like antsy, which is why I don't really like the sports market. It's just New York in general, like the New York sports market. They don't really accept losing teams, which is kind of. But I think the Bills are kind of like falling like into that. I understand Bills Mafia is way different, but Bills Mafia gets a little freaking crazy when your team, you guys have these high hopes every single year, and you end up getting bounced in the divisional. I think they're trying to look for a solution. I don't think that this was the solution. I don't know the exact details of the trade, but I remember looking it over and just being like, wow.
Yeah,
Like
I
Bills,
think it was Diggs, a 5th round and a 6th round for a 2nd round pick.
but still.
If they don't draft a receiver, then I think they got to go defense. They lost quite a few defensive pieces.
You got to go
off season.
receiver.
You have to draft a
I'm
receiver.
just saying, he can't do it all by himself, bro. He's going to get injured if they don't get him help.
I'm just saying it's like if they don't have the receiver that they want available at their pick, they might go defense.
They're gonna
Or
have to draft
they might
up
try to
or
trade up.
They have to.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the Bills, I'm trading up. We just got some capital with that 2nd round pick. Maybe we move up. We might be able to move up pretty
But-
high. I think they got a low 20th pick. I think like 28, right,
Yeah, I think
or something
28.
around then. So I mean, you might be able to move up. I think if they were to just trade that 2nd round pick, maybe they get like top 15 in the draft. I would think maybe if they trade that,
Well,
if
Yeah,
not
they
even
could
top
receive
10. I
it.
don't even
no
know.
way they get that.
I don't. Yeah, I was like, it really depends.
Maybe both seconds would get the top 10.
Yeah, both seconds possibly. Um,
I
I
think
mean,
it's
if the
also
Bills
really
really
good
want to,
questions about.
they could sell house to try to get Marv. I mean, that might be a good. I don't know how much they'd be willing to give up for Marv. I mean, I think he's going top 5 at
I've
least.
also
So
never been a big believer in banking on somebody in the draft, just because like the same thing that happened with Jamarcus Russell. You kind of saw it happen with like Baker Mayfield. Like he was that number 1 overall pick, and like Saquon, I would argue you'd rather have Saquon on your team now than Baker. But I think that was that 2018 draft. T Law is like the last quarterback that I think was drafted number 1 overall that I actually kind of like look at and I'm like, yeah, like you like, but back to like Jamarcus Russell, they expected him to be just this like absolute phenom, and he's like he sucks. Like you don't even when you think Jamarcus Russell, you literally think biggest bust of all time. Like I've never been a big believer in banking on this draft stuff, so I don't think that the Bills should do it. I think they should build their draft, sure, but I don't think they should sell an arm and a leg for whoever you just said. I don't even follow college because I don't care until they get
Wait,
into
who
the
do you
league.
say?
I said Marv.
Oh,
How do you not know Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Well, here's the thing that I think
Wait a
this
minute,
really
you're
brings
talking.
up.
I thought
The
you were talking about
question
trading for
brings up.
college.
No, trading for a player in
Like
college,
as in a pick, like
trading
trade
up in the draft for Marvin Harrison Jr.
he's the
Yes.
top wide receiver prospect.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, you idiot. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but you just said you didn't know who Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yes, I
was.
know. Yeah, I thought. My gosh, I hate
Marvin
you so much.
Harrison Jr. is the best wide receiver prospect, right?
That's what I was saying.
In the draft.
He's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You're talking about him
No,
as if
I
he's
wasn't
already in the
saying.
league, Andrew. I hate you.
Then why would they trade up in the draft if the guy was already in
That's
the league?
what I was saying to you. Forget it.
All right.
Guys, let's be nice to each other. This is a positive environment, and I think everybody should.
True.
No, shut up.
Trey, I
All
think we're gonna have to edit a little some of that out. But James, I think you had something to add real quick.
Yeah, the only thing I want to add, I think this trade kind of brings into question some things about Stephon Diggs. I think it was Adam Schefter. I think he was saying his cap hit for trading him was so large that this has to mean something other than just we needed to get him off the team. I think it's like you've seen the comments on social media, the little comments in the interviews. Like this could mean something potentially more than just, oh, we were just trying to get a second round pick. I think this could lead to some locker room issues or anything like that because you're not really just trading. Like we talked about who they have left in the wide receiver room. It's really empty. So I think this is more to the story than just on the surface. Like I think there's something there. So I don't know. I think this is something we're gonna find out more about in the future.
Definitely. Unless somebody has last minute things to add, I think we're good wrapping it up. Anyone want to take anything else last minute?
We could wrap it up.
I just want to say Trey's been very toxic
Okay.
talking about Jamarcus Russell because
Yeah.
I'm Raiders
Let me
fans.
say something real quick.
Go ahead, James.
I just want to appreciate everybody for having me on. It's my first time being on, but I definitely had a lot of fun. I look forward to more in the future.
Definitely. We're excited to introduce new people.
Yes,
We're
sir.
a bit more shorthand here, but thank you for joining us today, James. We had a great talk today, y'all, about NBA Mount Rushmores, and then moving on to some big news in the NFL world, right? Thank y'all for listening, right? Make sure you listen to us on Spotify at AspectPod, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, subscribe to our YouTube, follow our Twitter, all the same name. Thank you for joining us again today on another banger. We hope y'all enjoyed it. If y'all have any questions, there's a Q&A on Spotify. Make sure to drop some comments or questions there. We'll take recommendations as well. Follow us on Instagram. You can comment, DM, like, subscribe, whatever. All the platforms. Yeah. Thank y'all for listening. We hope y'all have a great night, great morning, great afternoon. Thank y'all again. We love y'all.